So Amit, I think within 30-40 seconds we can begin. 1 minute approximately, right?
Sure, ma'am. Good evening, Gaurav sir. With your permission, we would like to begin.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Good evening. My name is Amit, and I welcome you all for this second last session of this program. For today's session, we have with us Professor Dr. Gaurav Kalotra ji, and I request all the participants to join me in welcoming sir, who is currently the professor in Department of Geography, Punjab University, and sir has completed his MA and PhD in Geography from the Punjab University, Chandigarh. And sir has been teaching at the Punjab University for over 2 decades, and he has many professional affiliations to his name. And to mention a few, he is the Secretary of Association of Population Geographies of India and Vice President of the Punjab Geographers. Sir has completed a research project on gender migration and care funded by a Canadian council, and has wide fieldwork experience as well and many publications to his name. Sir specializes in migration studies, remote sensing, GIS, and population geography. And today, sir is going to talk about the intersection of law with geography. With this short introduction about sir, I hand over this floor to sir to enlighten all of us on law and geography. Uh, and with this, I hand over the session to sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Amit, and thank you, Dr. Jasleen. So, I'll begin my talk. Title Law and Geography as it has been written in your schedule. So, we'll be exploring the intersection of legal systems and spatial relationships. In brief, we'll be talking about the relationship between law and geography. So, in introduction, what is law? All of you know law better than me. All of you are teaching law in various colleges and universities of this country. So you will be knowing law better than me. So I'll be just telling you about what is geography. Now, geography is the description of the earth as the abode of human beings. You have to keep it in mind that geography is not only the study of the landforms and all other things, but it is we study earth with relation to man, how man interacts with earth. Now it is also defined as a study of earth, its lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere, and human beings' interactions with all these spheres. Now, through this diagram, I would like to show you that biosphere is just a minuscule portion where all these three spheres they interact. Lithosphere, we are talking when we talk about lithosphere, lithosphere is ground, earth, atmosphere, air, hydrosphere, water. Now, without all these three things, life cannot be possible. And at the intersection of all these three, the sphere is known as biosphere. That is where all the human beings live and they interact with all these things. If you see, the sphere of this is very small as compared to the others. Now, moving on to law and geography. So geography and law is an evolving interdisciplinary field that analyzes how legal systems and geographic spaces influence one another. See, as I've already told you that in geography, we study human beings. And as far as law is concerned, law is made for human beings only to so that they can work for the development of the country and for their own development. So there are some laws. Okay. So this intersection of disciplines reveals how law is not just an abstract set of rules, but a spatially grounded institution that both shapes and is shaped by physical, social, and political geography. See, these two things are not separate. These interact with each other. Law influences geography. Geography also influences law. Now it investigates how laws are influenced by physical locations, spatial boundaries, and territorial arrangements, and conversely, how geography is shaped and governed by legal principles. Now, the intersection of law and geography has evolved into a dynamic interdisciplinary field that explores how legal systems interact with spatial environments. This field is often referred to as legal geography, which combines the analytical tools of both legal studies and human geography to understand how law shapes and is shaped by spatial practices, landscapes, territories, and scales. See, as a geographers, we say that geography is the mother of all disciplines. Okay, so you can think of any discipline. Wherever you study space or area, geographers come into it. Okay, so you have legal geography, we have social geography, commercial geography, management geography, tourism geography, you name anything. Wherever we are talking about land, territories, geography comes there. Similarly, law also is for the people and it is geographic, it is territorial. So the branch which studies law and geography is known as legal geography. As both law and geography influence human behavior and societal structures, their interplay provides deep insights into power dynamics, resource allocation, identity formation, and governance. Now, importance of an interdisciplinary approach. Understanding the relationship between geography and law enriches both disciplines. For geographers, legal systems help explain how space is ordered, controlled, and contested. For legal scholars, geography provides insight into how space and place influence the creation, interpretation, and enforcement of law. By working together, legal and geographic perspectives can address complex issues such as urban inequality, indigenous land claims, transboundary environmental harm, and international human rights. Defining the relationship, geography at its core studies the Earth's surface, human and natural landscapes, and spatial relationships. Law, on the other hand, provides a system of rules enforced by institutions to regulate behavior. The intersection of these fields, often termed legal geography, recognizes that laws operate within and across spatial boundaries. Now, when we are talking about spatial boundaries means the boundaries, any administrative boundary of a village, block, tehsil, district, state, country. So all these are spatial boundaries. Now, these are administrative boundaries. There are other boundaries also. That will not be talking here. Now, legal institutions govern territories and define their borders. Geography determines how law is applied, interpreted, and experienced. Now, spatial nature of law, how law is spatial. Law is inherently spatial. Now, when we talk about spatial, we are talking about space. So, law is inherently spatial. Every legal system functions within jurisdictions, defined territories such as nations, states, or municipalities. These legal territories are not just passive backdrops. They are actively produced and modified through legal practices such as land use planning, environmental regulation, zoning ordinances, border controls. For example, property law draws lines around parcels of land, granting ownership and usage rights, while immigration law determines who can cross geographical borders and under what conditions. Now, key concepts in geography and law: territoriality, the legal claim over space. States exert authority over defined territories, and law becomes a tool to manage resources, populations, and access. Sovereignty, a legal and political concept closely tied to geography. Sovereignty allows a nation or entity to exercise control over a geographic area without interference. Jurisdiction, a core concept where legal authority is defined within geographic bounds and multiple layers of jurisdiction. Local, national, international can exist in a single space. Legal pluralism, especially relevant in post-colonial and indigenous contexts where multiple legal systems may coexist in one geographical space. For example, tribal laws and national laws. Legal systems shaped by geography, territorial jurisdiction. Laws are enforced within defined geographical boundaries. For example, a country, state, or city. Natural borders and resources. Legal regulations often reflect geographic realities such as laws concerning water rights, land use, or natural resource extraction. Cultural and regional differences. Legal norms and traditions can vary widely between different geographic regions, even within the same country, influenced by local customs and needs. Geography influenced by legal systems, zoning and land use laws, that is spatial regulation. Legal frameworks dictate how land can be used into various categories like residential, commercial, agricultural. We will be discussing these in detail in later slides. Shaping urban development and rural landscapes, affecting how people live and interact with their environments. Then environmental protection laws. These laws help preserve natural spaces, impacting how geography is managed and protected. Geography helps policymakers assess and respond to ecological challenges based on local and regional practices. Border controls and immigration laws. Legal systems define and enforce geographic boundaries, influencing the movement of people and goods. Geography plays a central role in defining national borders and sovereignty. Laws governing immigration, customs, and citizenship are based on geographic demarcations, often leading to geopolitical tensions. Then inequality and spatial justice. Geography reveals how laws affect different regions and populations unequally. Urban planning laws, for example, can either reinforce or challenge social and spatial inequalities, influencing access to housing services and public space. Now, there is a feedback loop. Feedback loop means that one affects another. So legal systems evolve in response to changing geographic realities. Okay, for example, climate change, urbanization, and geography in turn is continually reshaped by legal decisions, infrastructure projects, and planning regulations. So both legal system and geography, they are interconnected. Legal systems, new laws come with changing geographic realities. Okay, and geography shapes the legal decisions that in an infrastructure project, how much area should be kept for recreation and other activities, how much for commercial, how much for residential. So all these, so this is a feedback loop. One after another, it comes and goes. Now the core concepts, space and place. So when we talk about place, it is a specific location. Place is a specific location, and space, you can just say that the distance between two places is known as space. Okay, so this is a simple definition. If you go into more detailed, that is something else. Now, role of location in shaping law. Location plays a critical role in shaping laws, as legal systems must respond to the unique physical, cultural, economic, and political characteristics of a place. Then territoriality, how laws apply within defined geographical boundaries, and sovereignty, legal authority over specific geographic areas. Geopolitical location, borders and sovereignty. Laws vary by country or region due to sovereign legal jurisdictions. For example, a river that forms a border may lead to specific water right agreements or international treaties. The example is Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan. And the river in this point is the Indus River. Okay, the Indus River and its tributaries. So, although Indus passes somewhere above the Indian landscape, but its tributaries like Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, they pass through India and join the Indus. So Ravi, if you see, Ravi River forms border in the erstwhile Gurdaspur district, but now Pathankot district, between Pathankot district and Pakistan. So that river forms a boundary. Sometimes that river, during floods, it moves towards Pakistan, or sometimes it moves towards India. So this is there. So this is a border, and there are the treaties for this, with like Indus Water Treaty. Then there are conflict zones. Locations with strategic or disputed value often have unique legal frameworks. For example, martial law, international humanitarian law, etc. Now, in case of India, there are many islands for which there is a dispute between India and many of its neighboring countries. Like with Pakistan, there are some islands located along this Gujarat. With Bangladesh also, we have some issues with some islands. With Sri Lanka, all of you know we have some issues with some islands. So this is there. So these are the conflict zones. Then physical geography, natural hazards. Areas prone to earthquakes, floods, or wildfires often have strict building codes, environmental regulations, and disaster preparedness laws. For example, National Building Codes 2016 and various guidelines issued by Building Materials and Technology Promotion Council of India for earthquake-resistant housing. Then climate and terrain. Laws governing land use, agriculture, or transportation may vary depending on whether an area is mountainous, coastal, or desert. Resource distribution. Access to oil, water, minerals, etc. often leads to region-specific property, environmental, or extraction laws. Then urban versus rural location. Zoning and planning laws differ. Now see, urban areas and rural areas. Here the zoning and planning is almost different. If some of you might have studied geography at some point of time, you might have studied that uh, uh, there was a course named as town and country planning. Now here town refer to urban areas and country refer to the rural areas. And planning for both these areas is very different, because in urban areas you have traffic. In rural areas, there is not traffic. So in urban areas, you have to plan for the roads so that the traffic movement can be smooth. Then building heights. In urban areas, you have high-rise buildings. In rural areas, you don't have high-rise buildings. Okay. Then noise has to be regulated in urban areas, whereas in rural areas, you don't have to use it. In rural areas, the problems are different, like land use for farming or conservation. So there is a difference between planning and laws for urban as well as rural areas. Then service availability, law enforcement, courts, and regulatory oversight may be more accessible in urban areas, affecting how laws are implemented or enforced. Then cultural and historical context, indigenous lands and traditions. Certain locations have legal systems that incorporate or respect indigenous laws, such as customary land rights or sacred site protections. Colonial legacies, some regions retain laws influenced by former colonial power, which are adapted differently based on local context. So if we talk about these colonial legacies, although right now in India there is no such thing is visible right now, but uh, immediately after independence, in case of Punjab, there was one Punjab, and then there was another Punjab which was known by the name of Pepsu, although it was part of India. Pepsu meant Punjab, and Eastern Punjab, Pepsu, Patiala, and East Punjab princely states. Okay, so that was Pepsu. So till I think 50s, this Pepsu was there, but later on it merged with Punjab. So these princely states, these were the part of colonial legacy. Okay, so they were based on, and their rules and regulations continued even after independence for almost a decade, but later on it was absorbed. Then economic and strategic significance, trade hubs. Locations near ports or borders often have specific customs, immigration, and trade laws. Tourist destinations, laws may reflect the need to manage visitors, protect cultural heritage, or regulate short-term rentals. Now, see, at present, there are no such laws which manage visitors or tourists in any place. But uh, If we take the example of Leh Ladakh, in Leh Ladakh, the total population of that district was only 80,000. But you know how many tourists visited that place during one particular period of time? 10 lakh. So there is a need to issue some limited number of passes so that the natural beauty of the place doesn't goes waste. Like in the case of Shimla, people who are from North India, they might be knowing that in Shimla you go, there is nothing, there is just concrete jungle. You won't find any trees and anything like there in Shimla. So the same thing, to negate such thing, you have to have some laws for some tourist destinations like Leh and Ladakh. I can give you an example of only one. Then some examples. Singapore has strict cleanliness and public water laws influenced by its high density urban island setting. Anybody who has gone to Singapore, they had seen that Singapore has is very clean. No litter is there. Nobody puts anything there. Okay. So that is because of its law and orders. Okay. Regarding littering and all these things. Then Colorado, USA, legalized recreational marijuana partly due to its location and critical culture. They shaped regional laws differently than neighboring states. Texas, USA has liberalized gun laws. Bangladesh delta geography influenced the development of laws around water management and climate adaptation. Now, if we talk about the historical perspective, law in India has evolved from religious prescription to the current constitutional and legal system we have today, traversing through secular legal systems and the common law. India has a recorded legal history starting from the Vedic ages, and some sort of civil law system may have been in place during the Bronze Age and the Indus Valley civilization. Law is a matter of religious prescription, and philosophical discourse has an illustrious history in India. So, emanating from the Vedas, the Upanishads, and other religious texts, it was a fertile field enriched by practitioners from different Hindu philosophical schools and later by Jains and Buddhists. Secular law in India varied widely from region to region and from ruler to ruler, and court systems for civil and criminal matters were essentially features of many ruling dynasties of ancient India. And excellent secular court systems existing during the Mauryas and the Mughals, with the later giving away to the current common law system. I'll give you two examples. Laws were very important even during the days of Ramayana. Okay, so after Lord Ram defeated Ravana and he came back to his place, and he went in the night in his this land to see whether people are suffering or not, and there were talks that his wife was with a abductor for 1 year, and they were raising questions on Lord Ram. So he has to abandon his wife, although there can be many things, but as per the law, he has to abandon his wife. So it meant that law was not above the rulers even during that time. Then another example is from Mahabharata, when the father of this Bhisham Pitama, he wanted to marry a girl from a fisherman's daughter, but fisherman said that only the children produced by her daughter would be the king, not the prince who was already there. So it is not that the king was that the king was arbitrary. Okay, he cannot take the daughter from any person that I want to marry her. So there were some rules, and as a matter of and due to those rules, his son has to take a Bhisham Pratigya that he will remain celibate. He will not marry and have children of his own. So, meaning thereby that even during that time, there were laws, and the rulers, they were not above the law. They have to follow those laws also. Then moving on to the Arthashastra of Kautilya, during during Kautilya, the entire this administrative units, they were divided into different like these in a hierarchy they were divided. Like there was Thania, which was a fortress established in the center of 800 villages. Then there was Dronmukh, which was in the midst of 400 villages. Kharvatika in the midst of 200 villages, and Sangrahan in the center of 10 villages. Law courts were established in each Sangrahan and also at the meeting places of districts, which were known as Janpad Sandhishu. Now, the court consisted of 3 juries and 3 ministers, which were known as Amatyas. This suggests the existence of circuit courts during that time, that was 322 to 298 BC. Now, according to Brihaspati Smriti, there was hierarchy of courts in ancient India, beginning with the family courts and ending with the king. The lowest was the family arbitrator. The next higher court was that of the judge. The next of the chief justice, who was called Pradivika or Adhyaksha, and at the top was the king's court. Now, all these courts had the power to dismiss the orders of the previous lower order courts. Now, it is noteworthy that the Indian judiciary today also consists of a hierarchy of courts organized on a similar principle: the village courts, the municipal courts, the civil judge, district judge, high court, and finally the Supreme Court. Now, we are following an ancient tradition without being conscious of it. Then colonial legal geographies, the colonial era marked a significant moment in the spatialization of law. Colonial powers imposed legal systems that redefined territorial boundaries, property rights, and indigenous sovereignties. Legal geography helps unpack the colonial legacies in contemporary legal frameworks and spatial arrangements. Evolution of national boundaries and legal systems. With the emergence of modern nation states, legal systems became closely aligned with territorial sovereignty. National borders became legal boundaries, and law became an instrument of state control over space. Citizenship, immigration, and territorial governance became crucial issues at the law geography interface. Then legal geography in practice, urban zoning and land use laws. Zoning refers to the division of vast land banks for different purposes. In zoning, authorities divide areas of land into different zones where different land use patterns are enforced. In India, zoning regulations are developed by the local municipal governments or local authorities. These regulations control the usage of land and the building of structures, and different land use patterns are adopted in different zones. The government has many departments that handle land use plannings. Now, zoning types in India, there is residential, commercial, agricultural, industrial, hotel or hospitality, retail or public infrastructure. So now these are some of the zoning types. Although in some cases, in some of these, hmm, I'm not getting that word, like Delhi urban planning and all these. Okay, so which they have planned for some further years, you will find that there are 10 or 12 classifications also, 10 or 12 classes also. Now, which are the zoning authorities in India? Number one, constitutional provisions. You can do zoning by constitutional provisions. Town and country planning acts, development authorities. Like in case of Punjab, we have earlier we had PUDA, Punjab Urban Development Authority. Then there are district development authorities also. Then there are master plans. Oh, sorry, I was talking about master plans. Like Delhi master plan, where they have 10 these zones. Then there was land use zoning. This is a department which also creates zones. Building bylaws, environmental regulations, land acquisition laws, and judicial precedents. So these are the zoning authorities in India. Now, important state level action policies in India are, if in Maharashtra, there is Maharashtra Regional and Town Planning Act of 1966. Now, this is basis for Mumbai and Pune master plans. In Karnataka, there is Karnataka Town and Country Planning Act 1961. It guides Bengaluru's planning. Then Tamil Nadu Town and Country Planning Act of 1971 empowered CMDA for Chennai. Gujarat Town Planning and Urban Development Act 1976 includes land pooling provisions. Then Delhi Development Act 1957 created Delhi Development Authority. Now, environmental law and protected areas. Environmental laws, although environmental laws in India came very late as compared to other international international countries or regions. Like the first act, the Wildlife Protection Act came out in 1972. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. Environment Protection Act 1986. Ozone Depleting Substances Regulation and Control Rules 2000. Coastal Regulation Zone Notification 2018. Energy Conservation Act 2001. Biological Diversity Act 2002, the National Green Tribunal Act 2010, and Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act 2016. So these are some of the environmental laws which are in practice in India, although this EPA 1986, that has been replaced by the NGT. Then indigenous land rights, scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of forest rights act of 2006. Then we have protected areas. Now, protected areas are those where human occupation or resource exploitation is restricted. There are various types of protected areas with varying levels of protection depending on each country's enabling laws or the regulations of the international organizations involved. Like we have national parks, sanctuaries, conservation or community reserves, and tiger reserves. So all these are types of protected areas in India. Now, reserved forests are not a part of protected areas. Then the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 established the concept of a protected area in India. Then there are border disputes. The most is India-China border dispute. Why it is so? Because there is a line of actual control which China does not recognize it. Okay, India recognizes it, but China doesn't recognize it. And what are the legal implications of this undefined border is that specific areas along the LAC, such as Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh, are claimed by both India and China. So, and if you see a few years back, there was skirmish between Indian and Chinese forces over Aksai Chin. Then role of international law. Although there is United Nations is there, which the purpose of it was to prevent any such skirmishes or boundary disputes between different countries. But United Nations also goes for bilateral talks and all those things. So it doesn't have any foundation on any country. Then we move to globalization and legal geography. With globalization, we say that the world has become a global village. Okay. So when it has become a global, when we talk about global village, it means that the meaning of globalization was that all the boundaries should be abolished. And if you abolish all the boundaries, then the laws have to change. Like in the case of European Union. So there are supranational laws. Supranational law is a legal system built on a framework of international agreements where member states have chosen to collaborate and share certain powers in order to achieve specific objectives such as economic integration or judicial cooperation. Then impact of global trade on local legal systems. different legal systems in different countries can be a significant barrier to trade, especially for exports. And this effect is more pronounced in developing countries. If you remember, few years back, there was this WTO, World Trade Organization, and it was saying that all subsidies from agriculture should be removed. But if India followed that and we removed the subsidies, then our production would have, the inputs for production would have increased and agriculture wouldn't have been a profitable entity. Then globalization has led to the emergence of transnational legal regimes that transcend national borders. Trade agreements, human rights conventions, and international environmental treaties create complex spatial legalities. Local geography investigates how these transnational laws operate in specific locales. Then legal pluralism in global cities. Legal pluralism recognizes the coexistence of multiple legal systems within a given space. In many societies, formal state law exists alongside customary religious or international legal norms. Legal geography explores how these systems interact spatially and socially. Legal pluralism in global cities describes a complex web of overlapping legal and quasi-legal systems operating within the urban environment. It acknowledges that individuals and groups in cities are subject to multiple normative orders, including state laws, local regulations, customary practices, religious norms, and international standards. Then challenges and debates. Legal jurisdiction in cyberspace. All of us know the kind of things which are taking place nowadays. We talk about cyber crimes. Now, when we talk about cyber crimes, what is the legal regulation? Where is the jurisdiction? The person who is affected by cyber crime is located in Chandigarh. The one who is doing it, he is sitting somewhere in, say, UP or Madhya Pradesh. So, if you have to file an FIR, where should be it filed? So these are various things like data sovereignty. Okay. Then surveillance, digital surveillance. Which law should be there? That digital surveillance should be checked. So all these are challenges and these are debates which you have to address in coming times. Then climate change and shifting coastlines. All of us know that climate change is a reality. People in North who are from North, they might have witnessed that this year, May, is not as hot as it was already there. Okay, as it was in earlier years. So it is not, so it means that the climate is changing. Okay. Now, there is a threat of sea level rising. Sea levels are rising. And if sea levels rise, then the coastlines have to be redrawn. When the coastlines will be redrawn, the territorial water and exclusive economic zones, they will also be changed, leading to disputes over fishing rights, mineral resources, and national sovereignty. Then property rights. Coastal erosion may force governments to redesignate land ownership, implement managed retreat policies, or resolve disputes over disappearing land. Environmental law adaptation. Countries must update or create laws addressing climate adaptation, such as construction codes, coastal buffer zones, or environmental impact assessments. For example, the Maldives and Kiribati face existential threats from rising seas, prompting legal innovation like the purchase of land abroad and potential redefinition of statehood when the territory becomes uninhabitable. Then there is refugee movement and legal boundaries. International law challenges. The 1951 Refugee Convention defines a refugee as someone fleeing persecution, not climate change. Now, this limits legal protections for people displaced by environmental factors. then sovereignty and borders. Massive refugee flows can strain national asylum systems, prompting the creation of new immigration laws, regional agreements, or stricter border controls. Statelessness and documentation. Refugees often lose access to legal identity and face legal limbo, complicating their rights to work, move, or receive services. Now, for example, Syrian civil war refugees reshaped asylum law and policy in the EU, while climate-induced migration in the Sahel region of Africa is pushing for a redefinition of legal refugee categories. Then some of the applications and case studies, urban space and law. Cities are microcosms of legal geography. Laws regulate housing, land use, transport, and public behavior. For example, zoning laws determine the spatial layout of urban life, influencing where people live, work, and access services. Environmental law is a clear demonstration of geography law interaction. Laws that regulate air and water pollution, protect endangered species, or establish national parks are tied directly to the physical environment. They often involve cross-border collaboration, especially for global issues like climate change. Borders and migration. Borders are not just lines on a map, but legally defined and enforced spaces. Immigration laws, refugee policy, and asylum rights all play out at geographic boundaries, often creating legal gray zones, for example, border detention centers and maritime boundaries. Now, there are contemporary issues, climate change, digital space, globalization. These we have discussed earlier also. Before moving on to the conclusion, there is another this issue which I haven't noted here, but which needs to be addressed in coming times. See, I'll give you an example of this space exploration. During 1960s and 70s, USA came up with a remote sensing satellite, which is now known as Landsat. At that time, USA was the only country which had these satellites. Later on, France came with Spot. Then there was India. Then many countries came. But when other countries came, then they have to make laws regarding the space, space garbage. See, every satellite has a life. Earlier, it was at the time of Landsat 1 or ERTS 1, the life of a satellite was only 4 to 5 years. Now it has increased to 10 to 12 years. So after that, when the life of a satellite, and nowadays a large number of satellites we are using satellites for telecommunication. We're using satellites for or internet services. We're using satellites for your GPS, your locations. Then we are using satellites for knowing about the different natural resources. So there are a large number of satellites which we are using nowadays. Added to them are the these KH satellites, keyhole satellites of USA, which are used for this surveillance. Okay, so after a particular time, these satellites, they are done. Then what to do with that? If these lie in the space, then ultimately it will be junk or garbage in the space, and you cannot put more satellites into the space. So there has been a policy that only few countries they can use it, and in case a satellite is dies, then they have to move those satellites towards the Earth so that they get destroyed in the atmosphere. So this is one. But nowadays, what is happening is, you see, a couple of years back, India launched Chandrayaan, and now India is saying that we'll move towards Mangal Grah, that is Mars. And not only India, many other countries are moving towards it. Okay. Now, the problem is, if a country makes a space station, okay, on Moon or on Mars, then what legal laws will operate there? Okay. So these are the questions which will be coming in coming times. So we have to think about them and debate about these. Then coming on to the conclusions, the intersection of geography and law underscores that law does not exist in a vacuum. It is produced, practiced, and enforced within specific spatial and territorial contexts. As the world becomes more interconnected and faces spatial challenges like climate change, migration, and urbanization, the study of legal geography becomes increasingly vital. Recognizing the spatial nature of law deepens our understanding of justice, governance, and spatial organization of society. By combining legal analysis with geographic insight, law and geography helps us better understand how justice, governance, and space intersect in our increasingly complex and interconnected world. In summary, geography is not just a backdrop for legal system. It actively interacts with legal processes, shaping how laws are formulated, implemented, and experienced across different places. Recognizing this interplay enhances legal effectiveness and promotes equitable governance. Now, these are some of the references which I've used while preparing this PowerPoint presentation. So thank you all of you.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Now the floor is open for Q&A. The participants can raise their hand or can post their questions in the chat box. Yes, participants, anyone? Yes, Sangeeta ma'am. Uh, Sangeeta ma'am?
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Thank you very much. Good evening, sir. This is a very relevant topic you have covered today. So basically, you have also discussed that how China is, increasing its territory and naming our country, Arunachal Pradesh few district in his own name, and then there is no international law as well. And it is the third time he has not done it for the first time. 27 states he has already named. So when we talk about international law, when we talk about security concerns, when we talk about we don't have anything because it has one country claiming that it is my land, although it is not China's land, but naming in his own language, how does it impact India's sovereignty or international law under international law where we can find some kind of a recourse tomorrow? It would be the same situation which we are seeing in Ukraine and Russia claiming the same land.
See, as far as China is concerned, all of you know that China is a permanent member of UN. It has a veto power. So whatever you put, resolution you put to United Nations, ultimately it has a veto power. Whatever will be the result, it will be vetoed out. So you cannot do anything regarding this. It is only by bilateral talks that you can uh, ask China to follow line of actual control, which was given by the Britishers at that time. After that, China hasn't come on the table to discuss about this boundary issues. In other countries, in case of other countries, we have various these uh, uh, resolutions which were most of them were by Sardar Swaran Singh. So we have Sardar Swaran Singh line one in with Jakarta, Indonesia, then Sardar Swaran Singh line with some other. So they have been there. But in China, this is not China from our independence only. It has not followed or it has not understood the sovereignty of our country. And China has been following the policy more land. All of us know that China has the largest population. They want to take more land, and nowadays they have been following this road, uh, this road and rail initiative, which they know, which they call as belt. I am not getting the term, which is that. So they are using it, and they have built a road in disputed land, not only of India, but also of Pak occupied Kashmir also. So they have built a road. Some portion of Pak occupied Kashmir has been given by Pakistan to China. So laws can be there, but who will follow them? Countries like China, they are not following it. Even Russia is fighting with Ukraine for so many years. They are not following anything. So there should be a mechanism at international level that you have to follow that. But if some country is not following, you cannot do anything about that.
Yes, sir. I'll take one question from the chat box. Dr. Seeram has asked how environment and law interrelated in the present society.
See, environment, if we talk about environment, our country has become sensitive toward environment in very latest stage. If you see the first environment debate started in United Nations with the coming up of the book, The Silent Spring, which was written by this Rachel. I'm not getting the full name, written by this Rachel. So they had in that book, it was written somewhere in 1960s when she talked about the ill effects of DDT on the birds and how it is affecting the soil productivity and all those things. In India, I think environmental sensitization came only after 1990s, not before that. And laws regarding environment also were strictly followed only after 1990s, not before that. And see, preservation of environment in present times is it is very important, because if we do not preserve our environment now, our future generations will have to pay the price for that. Now see, any development activity which is going on, they have to take any developmental project, they have to take environmental clearances. The number of clearances are so huge in number nowadays that many a times people cannot fulfill all those, and they drop the ideas of those. But in many government, these projects, all these have been fulfilled, but they are fulfilling it, they are getting the certificate, but are they following it or not? That is the question which has to be asked.
Right, sir. Another question in the chat box. Are there any laws on using satellites for spying? Like China was doing it during India-Pak war and passing info to Pakistan.
See, you cannot make any laws. See, once a satellite is launched, you cannot change its path. You cannot stop it. You have to remember this thing. Once a satellite is launched, it will move along its orbit. You cannot stop it. You cannot slow its speed. You cannot accelerate it. No, you can't do it. One thing only you can do is you can shift its angle in its orbit. Nothing else you can do. So there are no laws regarding this. And as far as spying the satellites are concerned, no country gives information of that, how many satellites they are using for spying. Okay. Although we know that America has the largest number of spying satellites and they are covering the entire world. But if you ask them, they won't give you any information. Although otherwise, you know that these are known as KH satellites, keyhole satellites, which they use for spying.
Yes, sir. Dr. Kaur has asked, can there be laws as international law? Because without any sanction, these laws will do, I mean, how they are going to work for all of us.
See, there are some international laws which are being followed, like this Sustainable Development Goals. These are also laws which have been agreed by all the countries that will follow these. Then prior to these were Millennium Development Goals. Then there are these like these specific economic zones along the borders of a country. That there are some laws regarding that this much area along a coastline is reserved for that country. So there are some laws which are being followed by different countries, but the disputes are always there when one country says that this is my boundary another says that no, this is my boundary. So clashes are there or disputes are there, but laws are there, and many countries they follow those laws also.
Another question from Dr. Abhiram. He is asking, when SEZs are being developed by destroying agricultural lands, then how can we correlate it with existing land laws? And what are the emerging challenges in the formulation of laws in the context of changing geography?
See, these SEZs, these are specific economic zones which are developed, mostly these are developed in rural areas. Okay. And during earlier government times, these were developed in the less developed these parts of the country, so that those areas can develop. But all the agricultural land in that SEZ, all the other residential, all the other categories of land use, they were abolished and new categories were put there. So these were some of the SEZs were developed. Like you have this along Delhi, Gurgaon, and Faridabad. This was also initially as a SEZ. Later on, now it has become a full-fledged city, which is much more thriving even than Delhi. And land use laws have to be changed. See, I can give you an example of Punjab. When urbanization started in Punjab, although urbanization is a very old process, but when new establishments came, like in case of Chandigarh, Punjab came up with a new town known as New Chandigarh. So earlier, if you see the satellite imagery of this New Chandigarh, or earlier Mullampur or Toga, so all these were agricultural lands, but these were converted into a new city, and the land use was changed from agricultural to residential, commercial, recreational, and other things. So it is, again, there is a law that you can change the land use. So it is not arbitrary that anybody can make anything. That thing has occurred in Zirakpur, just adjoining 5 or 10 kilometers away from Chandigarh, and you see that there is a total chaos there. The buildings have come up, people have started living there, roads are very narrow, there are traffic signals, and people have to wait in their cars for reaching their homes. So that is unplanned planning. When there were no laws. You take the case of New Chandigarh, here you will see wider roads, lesser residential houses, and it is more planned. So there are laws regarding the SEZs and other things.
Right, sir. Actually, on the question of international law, there are a few comments by the participants. So Srinivas ji has posted. So if he wants to speak to sir directly, or Miss Priyanshu ma'am as well, she can speak as well. Srinivas ji and Priyanshu ma'am, if they want to speak. Or any other participant has any question or any comment.
Good evening, everyone. Sir, with due respect, what I feel is the government these days are driven by egos of the leaders of a nation, which result in war. Judges are being asked to keep aside their emotions, but it's not the case with the leaders. Like we have seen the war between the Russia and Ukraine, and still we have seen the war between India and war-like situation between India and Pakistan. But sometimes I feel कि अगर आप इमोशंस को सेट असाइड करते हैं बीइंग अ लीडर ऑफ द कंट्री बिकॉज इट इम्पैक्ट्स वेरी मच. अगर गाजा और फिलिस्तीन की कंडीशन देखें तो गाजा इज नॉट इन अ गुड कंडीशन और इसकी वजह से इकोनॉमी वाइज वो काफी पीछे चले जाते हैं. जो सिटीजन्स हैं दे आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम लाइक एनीथिंग, और वो उस स्टेट में वापस आने के लिए उनको काफी साल लग जाएंगे, डिकेड्स लगेंगे. तो व्हाट इज योर टेक ऑन इट?
See, as far as wars are concerned, wars shouldn't be encouraged at any level. That is my personal view. But what government thinks or what that is up to them. But as far as I am concerned, war shouldn't be there. See, when we go into war, the development is affected. And if the development is affected, the people are affected. Although this war situation was only for 3 or 4 days, but if it would have increased, this duration would have increased. You can just see that how many airports would have been affected, how many other installations would have been affected. And when such things are affected, rebuilding them takes a lot of time. I'll just give you an example, although that was not related to war. There is a road which goes from Chandigarh to Shimla. And during this cloud burst 2 years back, near Solan, that road caved in. And it was only a very small part. I think it was only 10 to 14 feet area which caved down. But it took almost 2 years to build that land. So repair and rebuilding is very time consuming.
Sir, namaskar, sir. Sir, USA, they have formed United Nations of Organization, United Nations Security Council, and now they are leaving all those institutions and they are saying America is first. Our interests are first, and
See,
then who will enforce the international laws, sir?
see,
If
see,
United
I'll just give you this. America, they think that United Nations, since it is situated in New York, it is a body of America. And
Yes, sir. True, sir.
I think Trump has, when he became the president, he has stopped this grant of United Nations. That if you don't work according to me, I'll stop your grant. Now, this is not the way. Now, see, as far as the sustainable development goals are concerned, these goals have to be achieved by 2030. But now, during this last meeting, they have suggested that the time period should be increased to 2050. One of the reasons is because of the developed countries, they have agreed that they'll be giving 1% of their GDP for achievement of sustainable development goals. And excluding a few countries, European countries like UK, they are giving it, and many of the Scandinavian countries, they are giving 1% of the GDP. But the largest, USA, is not giving anything. And US is the largest economy in the world. You agree or not, but it is. So when they are not giving it, their SDG goals will not be fulfilled, because developing countries, the poor countries, the less developed countries, they need money for all these. And if the developed countries are not giving their due, these cannot be achieved. The
Yes,
same is
thank you so
with United Nations also.
yes, thank you so much, sir.
Over to Amit. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, international law, whether international law is a law or not, it's a gray area, and I think we can keep
Yes.
discussing on and on. There are so many comments one way or the other. So I think we need to conclude this session considering the time constraint. And thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable time. And I also thank the participants for being here and sparing their time. So thank you so much, everyone. I think we will meet again at the same time tomorrow for the last session.
Thank you so much, Professor
Thank you.
Gaurav. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you,
are
ma'am.
honored with
Thank
your
you very much.
presence. Honored with your presence, sir.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Kalpesh, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks.